reason we were an open site was because 50% or more of the students in Greenville were on free or reduced lunches in the school system. Well, I'd have never thought that, you know, in a kind of small town that seemed like it was, you know, took a lot of pride in itself, and half the students, over half the students in the school system were on free or reduced lunches. And so we're an open site. So poverty was a big deal. So we got a brainstorm one year that we were going to do this project called Feed Dark County. And so we went, and our goal was to stock all the food pantries in the whole county for a year with food. And our goal was 50,000 pounds of food, which was at least a semi-trailer truck full of food. And so we went around, and we knew we couldn't do that only by ourselves. So we partnered with the other churches in town, about, not all of them, but about 8 other churches. We asked them to help donate food, did a food drive, you know, we coordinated that, did it through our church, and worked with the food pantries. And this was the empty, and I don't have a picture of it all stocked, but we completely stocked. We actually got this space, it was a warehouse space that was donated for us to use, and which you can do all kinds of stuff for free. You just got to ask and be out in the community. Had that space donated and completely filled it up with food. And we got, I think, a little over 50,000 pounds of food. And we did that for a Christmas kind of missional project one year. And we also, on top of the 50,000 pounds of food, had almost $10,000 donated to go to the food pantries as well. And that almost stocked the food pantries for a year in our county. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. And we did that not by ourselves, but helped, you know, partnering with the other churches. Not just actually most of them weren't Methodist churches. They were the churches right in the downtown area that we worked with to pull that off. So that was kind of neat. We also got involved in mission, not just in the community, but also in the world. This was a trip down to Guatemala. Our church took 6 trips, I think, down to Guatemala, which for Darke County, a little church in Darke County, you know, they'd never been on a missions trip in their entire life that I know of. And we ended up going to a missions trip to Israel, one trip to Israel. It wasn't a sightseeing tour, educational tour, it was a missions trip. That was kind of cool. We had a person that was ahead of our missions, and they said, let's not do a sightseeing tour, let's do a missions trip to Israel. Why? Because they have poverty there too, right? And so they did a little bit of sightseeing while they were there, but that wasn't the focus of the trip. The focus of the trip was missions. Went to Africa, one trip to Africa, went down to Guatemala. What are the other ones that are on there? Alaska, we went up to Alaska. Where else? Haiti, we went down to Haiti. What?
Katrina.
And Katrina, yeah, we sent 60 people from our church, 6 teams of 10 people down when Katrina hit. And within 2 or 3 weeks after Katrina hit, we started teams down there, and we started sending them down. So within about 2 to 3 months after Katrina hit, we had 60 people that had gone down and served down there and been back. And at that point, you know, the church was 500 to 600 people, around the same size. And so 60 people, that's 10% of our church family had gone to Katrina. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? That'll impact your church. So that was some of the neat things that we did there. Peace Church, where I'm at now, they do 2 kind of mission outreaches. One is the Helping Hands Ministry, and they get hospital equipment and donated to the church, and they give it out to people when they're coming out of the hospital. They may need a hospital bed, they might need a wheelchair, they may need a walker, whatever it is that they need, diapers, I mean, all kinds of stuff. We did 758 deliveries in 2011, and these are the hospital beds. We have a storage unit in the back, and people people get it for free. It's on a loan. It's on a free loan to them. When they're done with it, they give it back to the church, and then we get it out to somebody else that needs it. And that's huge. That's a huge ministry. It's been going on for 25 years. There was one guy who started it. It was his passion, kind of dream, got it going. He ended up getting older, couldn't do it, and the church kind of then started to take it on as a ministry, and so now it's run through one of the mission ministries of the church. That's kind of a cool ministry. We get about 100 calls a month for medical equipment with that. And then we also help with the open shelter food pantry, and we send some teams to that and serve in that. That's really the only two missional things that we're doing as a church at Peace right now. The door is wide open for us. I did a serving series in February and asked people to make commitments to areas of service in the church. And we had almost 300 people fill out a commitment card to serve in some area, either in the church or in the community. One of the things we did on that card was we asked, where would you like to serve in the church? Where would you like to serve in the community? Where would you like to serve around the world? Well, we didn't have too many options for around the world yet. But in the community, and then the way we did that was we asked people to sign up and in one of four ways. The first way was test drive. And we listed all the ministries, and we said, you can just try to test drive these ministries. That means just like you go out and test drive a car, you're not making a commitment to it. You're just going to go see if it's something that you want to do. So that's a stepping stone for people to get into that ministry. The second one was a first-time commitment. They've never done a ministry before, but they're pretty sure they want to do this ministry, and so they're going to make a first-time commitment to it. The third one was a re-up, which means that they're currently involved in the ministry and they want to continue the next year, and so they re-up. And the fourth one was a God dream. A God dream was, we don't have this ministry in the church, but God's put something on your heart. We want you to write that down. I have on my desk right now from that 28 God dreams that we're going to call people in the church, because those are ministries that we currently don't have in the church, but God put on somebody's heart, and so we're going to see if we can't get those launched. One of those was a little girl who wanted to collect stuffed animals and take them to the hospital, children's hospital, and that came out of a 12-year-old little girl. That was her God dream. Well, I can see that ministry taking off in our church. Now, imagine that coming out of a 12-year-old little girl. You don't ask the question, you'll never get, ideas. And three people said, I want to address the heroin problem in Fairfield County. So I got three people to call to say, okay, we've not done anything with this. We know it's a huge need in our community. I got three people interested in maybe trying to do something about that. So I'm going to start working through these 28 God dreams and figure out. The rest of them, we're plugging them into ministries that are either already existing, and they may be test drives or maybe re-ups or something like that. So let me give you 4 key principles with missions. One is mission. You got to see missions for the church as a means, not a result. Okay, see it as a means, not a result. What I mean by that is you're not trying to have people get to a point where they grow far enough in their faith journey that they start doing missions. A lot of churches have that mindset, that we're going to bring them in, we're going to grow them up, and then we're going to do what? Send them. Yeah, you've heard it before. Bring them in, grow them up, send them out, right? That's what I call is the additive model. You bring people in, sometimes through worship, whatever ways, outreach kinds of ways. You grow them up through study and possibly serving in the church, and then you send them out to do missions and witness. There's a problem with that additive model. And the problem is that it doesn't work. And here's why it doesn't work. Because people never get there. If you use this model, bring them in, grow them up, send them out, they're never going to get there. And here's how that happens. Here's how you see that in the church. You'll have somebody who's taken a Bible study for 15 years. Now, if they've been studying the Bible for 15 years, don't you think they'd be out doing some mission and ministry in the community? And what are they doing?
Studying the
They're
Bible.
signing up for the next Bible study, right? And they're not doing any mission and ministry in the community. And what they'll say to you is that, you know what? If I go out and I try to serve in the community, or I try to witness my faith, they might ask me a question that I don't know the answer to. And so I better study my Bible a little bit more so that I'm totally prepared, you know. And the problem is that they never get there, and they just keep taking Bible study after Bible study after Bible study.
I call it virtual Christianity.
Yeah. When I went to EUM, there was a, I got in trouble for this one. There was an older ladies' Bible study in our church. And there were 3 older ladies that were doing this Bible study. They called it the pastor's Bible study. The pastor always taught it. He'd been teaching it for 20 years. And they had like 15 people in the Bible study 20 years ago. Now they're down to 3 and because they all died, right? Or couldn't come to church anymore. And so there's these 3 older ladies, and they're doing this Bible study. And they came up to me and they said, Pat, and this was when I first came to the church, they said, Pastor, you're going to do the pastor's Bible study, aren't you? And I said, well, actually, I don't think I'm going to have time to do that. You're welcome to continue that Bible study, and I'll help you get some curriculum or whatever you want to do, but I don't actually have time to teach that. And they were just mad as, bees in a hornet's nest about that one. But here's what I watched them do. I watched them do Bible study after Bible study after Bible study with the pastor for 15 years, and they weren't doing anything in the community. And they weren't sharing their faith or witnessing in any kind of way. People never get there. They never get there if you use this model. So there's a different model for us to think about. Wesley, one of his quotes was, there's no personal piety apart from what? Social justice. So you have to keep those two together, right? You can't split them apart. Wesley, I think he used a holistic model of discipleship, which says for Wesley, you would be involved in worship, study, serving, mission, witness, right when you started into the church. As soon as you started into a class meeting with Wesley or a trial band with Wesley, you were immediately given a penny. You know, that was what you were required, give your penny. And you were involved in serving in the community. You were involved in the class meeting. You were involved in the Church of England because you weren't separate from the Church of England. You were doing it all those aspects. Okay. For Wesley, then, you do those same things at a little bit deeper level, and then you do those exact same things at a little bit deeper level. And so his expectation is that you were already witnessing and serving and being in mission and giving and all those kinds of things from the get-go. It's not you first come and do this, and then you come and do this, and then you come and do this. No, he said, here's the expectations of what it means to be a Christian. Do all of those at the level that you can do them at. And then when you get a little bit further in your Christian journey, do them all there. And then when you get a little bit further in your Christian journey, do them all there. You don't get more to do, you just do more of the same at a deeper level. Well, somebody gets to the end of this journey, and you ask them the question, well, do you ever go out and witness or serve your faith? What's their answer? Absolutely. Why? I've been doing it all along. That's what it means to be a Christian. You cannot not serve and witness, right? You have to do that. That's a holistic model. It's actually how we learn as human beings. You know, as a child, you don't teach your child to learn how to eat and become a professional eater, right? Before, and then they get to that point, and then you teach them social skills and relational skills. And then once they get those mastered, then you teach them intellectual skills. That's not the way we grow as human beings, right? What do you do with a little kid? You're teaching them, as a little kid, you're just trying to get the food in their mouth, right? Initially. You're trying to get them to eat. But at the same time, you're trying to help your little kid learn how to share their toys, right? And you're also